The great chamber of the Galactic Empire was filled with light from thousands of glowing pillars. Each pillar represented a world under the Empire's rule. The air shimmered with quiet tension as alien diplomats, officers, and council members gathered in a wide circle. Their voices whispered like rustling leaves as the doors opened and a thin, tall creature entered. His skin was silver gray, his eyes deep green, and he walked with a slow, careful step. His name was Tavar, and he was not a member of the Empire. He was a watcher, a traveler from a neutral species that studied young worlds. The High Consul, a being covered in blue armor plates, spoke in a cold tone. "You asked for an audience, Tavar. You claimed urgent news regarding a primitive world. Speak quickly. We have wars to plan." Tavar bowed his head slightly. "I thank the Council. I come to warn you of a species known as humans. They live on a small blue planet called Earth, in the Sol system. A few cycles ago, your scouts vanished near their moon. You sent another team, and they did not return either. You must not approach that world." Laughter broke the silence. Many council members looked amused. The High Consul's eyes glowed faintly. "Are you suggesting a pre-space civilization destroyed our fleet?" "I am saying," Tavar said slowly, "that this species is dangerous beyond measure. I have studied them from afar for many years. They have fought countless wars, even against their own kind. They destroyed whole cities and poisoned their own skies. But they do not die easily. They adapt faster than any species I have seen. Every time they are beaten down, they rise again, stronger," one of the generals snorted. "Savages fighting savages. That is not power, that is chaos." Tavar turned toward him. "It is more than chaos. It is instinct. They do not fight for territory or honor. They fight because they refuse to surrender. Even in peace, they prepare for war. They build weapons that could shatter worlds, yet they still call themselves fragile." The room grew quiet for a moment. Then the consul waved his hand. "Enough. You insult the Empire with ghost stories. If these humans are so strong, why are they not out among the stars?" "They are still young," Tavar said softly, "but their eyes are turning upward. They are building ships. They are listening. Once they step beyond their world, no one will stop them. I beg you, do not provoke them. Do not give them reason to hate you." The consul's voice grew hard. "The Empire fears nothing. We have conquered hundreds of worlds. We have erased species greater than this one. If these humans ever rise, we will crush them before they crawl from their planet." Tavar's gaze lowered. "That is what the others said long ago." "Others?" someone asked. But Tavar did not answer. He only said, "I have spoken my warning." He left the chamber in silence while the council laughed behind him. Far away on a small world of blue and green, the night sky over North America shimmered with faint moving lights. In a mountain observatory in Colorado, a man sat staring at a monitor. His name was Ethan Cole. His brown hair was messy, his eyes tired from long nights of data watching. Across the room, his partner, Laura Bennett, poured herself coffee. "Another false signal?" she asked, rubbing her eyes. Ethan didn't reply. His screen flashed again. "No, this one's steady. It's repeating every 20 seconds. It's coming from just beyond the moon." Laura frowned and walked over. "Could be a satellite glitch." Ethan shook his head. "No satellite we know sends a signal like this. It's clean, structured, too perfect." He typed fast, zooming in on the signal's pattern. The data lines formed strange, symmetrical shapes. "It's not random. Someone's transmitting deliberately." Laura leaned closer. "You think it's aliens?" Ethan gave a weak laugh. "If it is, I hope they're friendly." She smiled but saw the tension in his face. He looked more curious than afraid, yet something about the signal felt wrong. It was as if it was watching them back. They recorded the data and sent it through, secure channels to the United Earth Defense Network, a secret organization that managed deep space monitoring. Within an hour, 2 men in dark suits arrived at the observatory. They took the recordings, erased Ethan's and Laura's local files, and told them to say nothing. When they left, Laura looked at Ethan. "They didn't even deny it. That means it's real, doesn't it?" Ethan nodded slowly. Yeah, someone out there is watching us. In orbit far beyond their reach, the Empire's reconnaissance ships floated near the moon. Admiral Kalor Vrix stood before a glowing map inside his command ship. His scales shimmered with faint red light. He was proud, cold, and certain of victory. His officers waited for orders. The Watcher's warnings are nonsense, Kalor said. We will take samples, study these creatures, and learn their weaknesses. The Empire will own this world. One of his lieutenants looked uneasy. Sir, the observer Tavar said this species is unpredictable. Should we send a full fleet? Kalor's lips curved into a cruel smile. For savages with stone tools? No. One squadron is enough. Bring me their leaders alive if possible. We will show the Council that fear is for lesser beings. The ships broke formation and vanished into shadow. On Earth, storms rolled over the Atlantic as if the planet itself felt something approaching. In the following days, strange power readings appeared above several military bases. Satellite operators reported blinding static. Then, one night, the radar over Nevada picked up movement. Objects descending at impossible speeds. Captain Aaron Blake sat in a small defense control room at Nella's command. He was young, calm, and known for his sharp instincts. When the alarms blared, he looked at the radar and frowned. Those aren't meteors, he said. They're slowing down. His superior officer shouted orders. Scramble the interceptors. Get eyes on those things. Aaron watched the screens as 3 glowing shapes entered the lower atmosphere. They moved too smoothly, ignoring wind and gravity. A few seconds later, the lights vanished from radar. In the desert, a small town lost power. Then, deep in the sand dunes, alien craft landed. Kalor watched from orbit as his troops marched out. Tall, armored figures carrying weapons that pulsed with light. They spread through the dark, scanning the landscape. But what they found was not empty land. A group of humans was already waiting. Aaron had ordered a ground team to investigate when communications went dark. He led the squad personally, using a small transport helicopter to reach the area. When they arrived, their instruments went crazy. Metal melted in strange ways, and magnetic fields twisted their compasses. Keep your eyes open, Aaron said, stepping forward with his rifle ready. Suddenly, the air rippled, and shapes appeared. Tall, shining figures with weapons that looked like glowing staffs. Laura and Ethan watched the events unfold from their observatory feed. The defense network had shared limited visuals. Static filled the screens, but they caught a glimpse of a blue flash in the desert. Then another. Then the signal cut off. In orbit, Kalor waited for a report, but none came. One of his officers looked at him nervously. Ground team not responding, sir. Then send drones, Kalor ordered. Moments later, the drones transmitted a final image. Armored bodies scattered across sand, weapons melted, helmets cracked open. No human casualties were visible, only empty tracks leading back toward the town. Kalor's face hardened. They ambushed us? How? The officer shook his head. We cannot read their communications. They're using local signals mixed with noise. It's like they're changing their language mid-sentence. Kalor clenched his fists. Then they are clever animals. Nothing more. Tavar, far away, received a hidden transmission from one of his probes orbiting Earth. It showed human soldiers dragging captured alien weapons, examining them under floodlights. He watched in silence. He remembered the ancient warning written in his people's archives. Do not awaken the children of chaos. They will not stop. He closed his eyes and whispered, They never listen. On Earth, Ethan stared at the night sky. He didn't know about the Council or the Empire, but he felt something watching. Laura joined him outside, and they stood quietly as stars flickered over the mountains. You think they'll come back? She asked. Ethan's answer was quiet. Yes. And next time we won't be the ones who get studied. Above them, hidden behind the moon, Kalor's remaining ships circled Earth. The admiral looked down at the small blue planet and gave the order to prepare a larger force. He would not leave empty-handed. But in his heart, Tavar's warning echoed again and again. He knew the Empire had just made its greatest mistake. The quiet days that followed the desert encounter did not bring peace. In every major city across Earth, military radars and satellites kept catching strange signals. Sometimes it was a pulse that lasted less than a second. Sometimes it was a shadow over the moon. Governments tried to keep it secret, but the truth was slipping out. Amateur astronomers around the world were talking about the same thing. Something was out there, watching. Ethan Cole sat in his small office at the observatory, staring at the same repeating code he had seen a week before. The pattern was changing. The signal was now bouncing between frequencies, almost like it was scanning. Laura Bennett stood beside him, holding a tablet full of readings. "It's getting stronger," she said. "They're not hiding anymore." Ethan nodded slowly. "Or they think we can't do anything about it." She looked out the window at the snowy mountains. "Do you think the government told the public?" He shook his head. "No, but they will have to soon. Whatever they are, they're moving closer." In orbit above the moon, Admiral Kaylor Vrix watched Earth from his command ship. His expression was cold, but his pride was bruised. The failure of his ground team had spread through his fleet like a sickness. He could still see the images of his soldiers lying dead in the desert sand. They had underestimated these humans. Kaylor turned to his officers. "How did they defeat our warriors so quickly?" The technician at the console replied, "Their weapons are crude but powerful. They use kinetic projectiles, not energy. Our shields are weak against such impacts. They also used heat traps to confuse our sensors." Kaylor frowned. "So they used simple tricks and it worked." "That means they can think." "That means they can learn." He stood silently for a moment, then ordered, "Send more scouts. I want full observation of their planet. Study their military. Study their minds. If they can fight, we will see how they do it." The order spread through the fleet. Small cloaked probes descended toward Earth, each no bigger than a human car. They moved over cities, oceans, and mountain ranges, recording everything. But soon something unexpected happened. Earth's satellites began to vanish. One after another. Orbital eyes went dark. Control rooms on the ground filled with confusion. The United Earth Defense Network realized that something was destroying their satellites. But they also noticed something else. Several of the unknown probes were failing too. Some exploded in the upper atmosphere without reason. Captain Aaron Blake stood inside the command center of the defense ship Eclipse, watching the screens. He had been chosen to lead Earth's first response team. The ship was experimental, built in secret for a day that no one hoped would come. Its hull was thick, its weapons simple but powerful railguns, and its engines fast enough to reach orbit in minutes. His first officer, a calm woman named Dana Lewis, walked up to him. "Sir, Command has confirmed the losses. We're blind in half our orbital zones." Aaron crossed his arms. "That means they're testing us." Seeing how we react, Dana nodded. "They're confident. They think we're just animals." Aaron's voice was steady. "Then we'll show them what kind of animals we are." The Eclipse rose from its underground base like a silver spear. Within minutes, it broke through the clouds and entered orbit. The crew stared through the viewing glass at the curve of Earth below. It was beautiful and fragile, a reminder of what they were protecting. Aaron gave the order, "Deploy drones. Let's see who's up here with us." Dozens of human drones spread through the orbit, each carrying sensors and small magnetic weapons. At first, they saw nothing. Then one drone caught a glimpse of something dark, something moving without light. "Target found," Dana said, pointing to the screen. "It's huge." "It's not a rock." Aaron leaned closer. "Magnify." The image cleared, revealing a dark triangular shape hovering near the moon. It wasn't human. It was smooth, sharp-edged, and silent. Even through the screen, it looked alive. "Get me a firing solution," Aaron ordered. The Eclipse locked onto the unknown object. For a few seconds, the crew waited. Then, without warning, the object vanished. A second later, alarms blared. An energy beam struck the Eclipse's hull. The ship shook violently, lights flickering. "Damage report," Aaron shouted. "Minimal hull breach on deck 2. Dana answered quickly. "Shields holding." Aaron smiled faintly. "Good, let's hit back." The Eclipse fired a railgun burst. The projectile streaked through space, invisible to sensors. A bright flash followed near the moon. The unknown ship spun out of control before disappearing again. For a moment, silence filled the cabin. Then cheers broke out. They had hit it. They had proven humans could fight in space. But far above, Kaylor Vrix was not cheering. He watched the footage from his drones, his jaw tightening. "They destroyed one of our scouts with primitive weapons," he said in disbelief. "How?" An officer replied nervously. Their projectile speed is too high for our shields to deflect. Their technology may be crude, but it's effective. Kalor slammed his clawed hand against the console. Then we will not play with them anymore. Prepare the fleet. We strike now, the order spread like fire. Across the Empire's ships, engines ignited. Hundreds of war vessels began to move toward Earth. Back on the ground, Ethan and Laura were summoned to a hidden military base under the Rocky Mountains. When they arrived, they saw rows of scientists, soldiers, and computers working non-stop. The entire base buzzed with tension. A tall general approached them. "You're the ones who found the signal," he said. "You're part of this now." Ethan nodded. "What are we dealing with?" The general's face was grim. "An alien empire. We don't know how many ships they have, but they're coming fast. We'll be ready." Laura looked around the room. "Ready? We're fighting a space empire. How can we be ready?" The general looked at her calmly. "We're humans. We've always fought against impossible odds." Ethan and Laura joined a new team working on decoding alien communication. The symbols in the signal were complex, but they began to find patterns. The aliens were sending constant updates to their fleet. Ethan noticed something strange in the code, coordinates pointing to Earth's power grids and military centers. "They're mapping us," he said quietly. "They're planning where to hit." Laura frowned. "Then we have to strike first," the general agreed. "We can't go to their world, but we can make them pay for every inch they take." As the human defenses prepared, the sky above Earth changed. Strange lights appeared across the night. People in cities looked up and saw flashes like falling stars. The invasion had begun. Kalor's fleet entered the upper atmosphere, spreading in formation. Energy blasts rained down on military bases and communication towers. Explosions lit up the ground. Human fighter jets launched into the air, engaging targets far beyond their reach. The Eclipse returned to the battlefield, cutting through debris and fire. Aaron gave calm orders even as the ship trembled under enemy fire. "Target the largest ship," he said. "If we break the head, the body falls." The railguns fired again and again, each shot echoing like thunder through space. One alien cruiser exploded, breaking into shards of glowing metal. Another turned to dust in a flash of light. But there were too many. The sky was filled with ships. On the ground, Ethan and Laura watched the feeds. Cities were burning, but there was still order. Humans were fighting everywhere, not just soldiers, but civilians too. Pilots, engineers, even miners using heavy equipment to attack landing zones. Kalor watched in frustration. They are disorganized, yet they resist with everything they have. This should have been over hours ago. Tavar, watching from a distant satellite, whispered to himself, "You don't understand them. They don't fight to win. They fight because they refuse to die." Aaron's voice came through the ship's speakers. "Enemy fleet regrouping. We can't hold them much longer." Dana looked at him. "Orders, sir?" Aaron took a breath. "Pull the enemy closer, then drop the rail slugs directly into their formation." She hesitated. "That's suicide," he smiled faintly. "Only if we miss." The Eclipse turned toward the heart of the alien fleet. Explosions surrounded them. A massive energy beam struck the hull, but the ship kept going. The crew fired everything they had. One by one, alien ships burst into flames. The energy shockwave hit the Eclipse, throwing it into a spin. Inside the control room, sparks flew. Dana shouted, "Engine's failing!" Aaron grabbed the manual controls. "Not yet. Hold her steady." The Eclipse leveled out just before hitting the upper atmosphere. Behind them, half the alien fleet was burning. From his flagship, Kalor stared in disbelief. "They rammed through our formation. With one ship." His officers looked shaken. "They don't fear death, Admiral. They just keep coming." Kalor turned away from the screen. His pride was now gone, replaced by something new. Worry. "Prepare reinforcements. We end this before they become something worse." Far below, as fires burned across the Earth, Ethan and Laura received a new transmission from space. It wasn't from the aliens. It was from Aaron's ship. The message was short. "We're still alive, and we're not done yet." Laura smiled through her tears. Ethan looked at the signal and said softly, "They thought we were prey. They were wrong." High above the clouds, the wrecked but living Eclipse floated in silence. Around it, alien wreckage glowed like dying stars. Humanity had survived the first strike. But the war for Earth was just beginning.